And while we talk about the challenges specifically on admission and retention, two interrelated questions come to mind. So, who normally qualifies for admission into institutions for higher learning in Uganda today? The conventional answer to that question is that many universities are currently emphasizing the two principal passes for enrollments, particularly two principal passes for those so-called flat courses, Bachelor of Arts in Arts. The coded language of two principal passes is that grades are key. Grades constitute the green light. So where do grades come from? Where will those good grades enabling you entry in the mighty cathedral of higher education come from? The grades are located, as we all know, from those well-endowed, highly capacitated secondary schools. A related question will be, so where are those students and pupils in those well-endowed secondary schools coming from? The conventional answer is that those schools in well-endowed secondary schools are coming from even well-endowed primary schools. We can even push it further. Where are the primary pupils from those well-endowed schools coming from? They are coming from well-endowed, even all the more endowed nursery and kindergarten schools. Where are all those spaces located? The natural conventional answer is that they are found in high-income, high-level socioeconomic status urban areas. Certainly away from the refugee settlements based in rural areas of Uganda. So should grades be looked at as the silver bullets, as the joker card to either commence or terminate the game? We are already structurally positioning an exclusionary systemic fashion of those with never the chances of accessing good primary schools. By good primary schools, I mean schools endowed with those teachers who have learned the game of how to manufacture good students for the good grades. Those students who have learned how to manufacture the sustenance of the teaching's grade. Those who will come with above anything two principal passes to the door of Makerere University's registry or Uganda Matters University's registry and many others. So the challenge stays with us. How did we get here? And why are we paralyzed by this situation? It seems to me that the Uganda Universities and Tertiary Institutions Act, which was passed in 2001, amended for the first time in 2003, for the second time in 2006, has already cast in stone the perimeters of our limitedness to inclusion of refugees in higher education. The entire act up to its amendment of 2006 has no mention whatsoever of the word foreign, let alone refugee. Perhaps a more convincing, intelligible answer is found in the demographics of the time. By 2001, as the act was being enacted, Uganda had under 200,000 refugees in Uganda registered. It was statistically still insignificant. Half a decade later, as we move through the second amendment of that act, we still have averagely the same number of refugees we were hosting. Just slightly above 200,000 refugees. Still statistically significant. By the time of the operationalization of the National Council for Higher Education, the Ministry of Refugee Disaster Preparedness and Relief was extremely well-funded, fairly well-funded, with over 230,000 euros per year, managing about less than 500,000 refugees. From my figures in interviewing the minister and the commissioners, today this figure is halved, while the refugee population has quadrupled. So the question before us is, what about today? While the state can be excused and the lawmaker forgiven for having not thought about the refugee within the confines of their jurisdiction at the time of the enactment of this important legal framework, today Uganda is hosting 1.5 million registered refugees, making Uganda Africa's topmost refugee hosting country on the continent. About 4% of people living in Uganda are refugees. 4% of the general population is no meager figure by any standards. Can we still continue to be oblivious to the fact of hosting such an important number of refugees and close both doors and windows of the higher education cathedral to those mostly in need?